It's Prime Day, and as is tradition on my channel, I've spent the morning scanning for any reasonable looking deals, and oftentimes many of them aren't actually on Amazon itself, and I have come up with some things. Also, in a time when like RAM pricing and anything with RAM in it or flash memory like SSDs, GPUs, etc., prices have kind of gone insane. We're in dark times from the AI data center crush. Certain components like monitors actually haven't seen that same issue. So OLED monitor tech has actually been coming way down in price as new generations push new features. Stuff that's like a generation old in tech can sometimes have pretty impressive pricing for an OLED display. So for example, a 1440p 240Hz OLED can be had for $320 right now on Costco. So I think you would need a Costco membership. So there's that. But pretty interesting pricing for this. Now, looking at reviews of this specific monitor, it does review well. However, its peak brightness is lower than even some other OLEDs, and OLEDs in general don't have like the most amazing brightness. However, they have amazing contrast. That's kind of the whole point. Each individual pixel can be turned off. So if you can control the lighting in your environment where you game, this is a pretty good choice. You'll still, perceive a lot of brightness with the contrast if the overall room brightness isn't super high. But if you have tons of like natural light windows coming in on this or something and you game a lot during the day, maybe not the top choice. Now, I'm going to mention this next monitor here. This is going to be out of a lot of people's price range, but at $700, which is down from the $1,000 MSRP at Newegg, you can get one of the newer generation, higher refresh rate 1440p OLEDs. This one is 540 Hz 1440p. However, if you drop the resolution, it can go up to 720 Hz, but I don't think that would be worth it personally, but it's one of the features available on the monitor. Again, this is also going to go brighter with some of the newer technology, etc. Certainly interesting, but I know this is going to be out of a lot of people's price range. Now, I know a bunch of people are going to be wondering, are there any GPU deals on Prime Day? Now, white-ish background for these Amazon listings, so flashbang warning. Anyway, so I did find a few GPUs that might be worth looking at. So the most powerful GPU that I found any sort of a deal on is the 9070 XT. This is about the equivalent in performance to NVIDIA's 5070 Ti, although with NVIDIA you get better path tracing performance, a better feature set, etc. But AMD's latest upscaling with FSR 4.1 is quite good. So this is a very usable card. You could look at my recent 9070 XT versus 5070 Ti video, where I'd overall, prefer to have a 5070 Ti if they cost the same, but those are still coming in at around $900 to $1,000 on the lowest prices. So at $650, this is pretty interesting at this price point. Now, is it much of a deal? Generally, you can find 9070 XTs for around $700 in the US, so this is a bit of a deal, but nothing completely mind-blowing. Now, I did also find, if you're willing to step down to the 9070 non-XT version, that is going for $575 for the Power Color Reaper on Amazon. And these are generally closer to $600. So again, not a mind-blowing price cut for Prime Day, but it's something. Now, a lot of people are going to be wondering, is there any kind of NVIDIA deal available? And probably the most interesting thing I saw is a 5070 on Newegg, where if you're willing to give them your email address, which I guess you would have to do in order to buy it anyway, I guess if you're setting up a Newegg account, you can get an additional $30 off the $580 list price, which would bring it down to $550, which you might be like, isn't that just the MSRP for the 5070? Yeah, but ever since RAM prices went up, we haven't seen them available for MSRP. Now, before you get too excited, like around Black Friday last year, you were seeing occasional 5070s dip below $500. So I'm not going to say that this is like the most amazing deal we've ever seen on a 5070, but if you're looking for any sort of a discount on an NVIDIA GPU right now, to me, this seemed like the most interesting thing I could find. So $550 for a 5070. Now, I have a recent video with a head-to-head of the 9070 up against the 5070 in current games, etc. And the 9070 is overall about 15% faster in my testing, and it does have additional VRAM. NVIDIA has, feature set advantage, etc. So you could go ahead and watch that video if you wanted to decide between these two. And again, if you're willing to go up to the $650 range, you get this 9070 XT, which is, significantly faster than a 5070, so worth looking into. Now, on the 9070 non-XT versions, I'll also mention that for $5 more, there's an additional option from XFX with their Swift coming in at $580. This is a white card, so if you're doing more of a white build, maybe that would sway you, or maybe you have a preference between Power Color or XFX, something like that. So anyway, something that you could take a look in there. So nothing mind-blowing in the GPU space, but at least some cards that are discounted below their typical pricing when it isn't Prime Day. So at least that's something. Now, if you wanted a case to put them in, again, I'm not necessarily seeing anything completely crazy. If you count the $10 rebate, you can get a decent case for around $50. If you want a white case, I found a $36 case here on Amazon. Again, both of these cases coming with fans, which can help you with the overall build cost, not having to buy fans separately. So there's a couple of case options if you're putting together a build. And then I also thought, while this isn't the lowest price cooler I've ever seen, it is a 360 millimeter AIO, as well as one that comes with a screen that you could put pictures on. Now, this isn't one of the OLED screens. This is a LCD screen, but it's kind of one of those more premium features compared to just the lowest cost coolers available. You can just get away with a $20 air cooler if you really need to on a lot of, depending on which CPU you're going with. But anyway, here's this, and that's coming in at $56. So for a 360 millimeter AIO with an LCD screen, seemed interesting. Now, this is a white version, so maybe that's going to go with your white GPU and the white case. Maybe you're throwing together a white build. So if you are throwing together the white build, I did also notice a pretty steep discount on a white mouse. Now, this mouse from Pulsar is now I haven't used it myself, but it is pretty well reviewed from a lightness perspective. That's what this is marketed around, as being an extremely light mouse. Now, that being said, I've heard that a bit of a trade-off with that is not having the most amazing battery life, because to bring down the overall weight, you don't cram in a super big battery or anything like that. So, personally, I go with I prefer a longer battery life, but I'm a little bit aged out of my esports days. So if you're looking for the super light kind of mouse, especially if you're putting together a white build or something like that, this is a pretty steep discount on that, so that could be interesting. Now, another thing to look for when looking for general upgrades, if you're I'm going to hold off on upgrading my actual PC, one thing you can look into is peripherals of some kind. That's one reason why I was thinking about the monitors. But another way to go is actually upgrading the audio. So the Sennheiser HD600 headphones are well-known, well-reviewed headphones. And this is... if you checked Camel for Amazon pricing history, not an unheard of low price. It's a little lower than we've seen before. These go on sale over time. Hey, let's check in I did pull up Camel, but let's actually check Amazon's built-in price history with Alexa, see if it somewhat matches. Oh yeah, that actually is about what I was seeing on Camel. So you can see that this is hitting a low price, but you can see that it's hit similarly low, but not exactly this low prices before. So there's that. Anyway, point is that I think a lot of people think too much on the actual PC specs, and what frame rate am I going to achieve, when a huge part of your overall gaming experience is also the quality of the image you see from the monitor and the audio that you get from your speakers or headphones. So that's definitely a place you can look to upgrade your overall experience if you aren't upgrading the actual PC components that are going to get you a higher frame rate or something like that. Now, do keep in mind when you're buying, higher end headphones like these, that these are pretty high impedance, meaning that if you just plug directly into your PC, the overall audio volume may sound a little bit low, because so these are the kind of headphones that would benefit from a little bit of additional amplification. Not saying it's absolutely necessary, but you may be feeling like they're overall a bit quiet for their maximum volume levels. So just a heads up on that. Also, that these are open back headphone designs. So these are not designed to block out outside noise. That's not what these are designed for. Personally, that's actually something I like because I want to be able to hear if my kids are like needing me or something if I have my headphones on. But I know some people are looking to block out and also keep in more of the sound. So that is something to consider if you haven't looked into these styles of headphone designs before. But anyway, good price on some good headphones right there. Now, in more of the actual performance-related component space, looking into CPU deals, there had been a decent deal on AMD's 9600X CPU, but it already sold out and has gone up to a higher price. I had seen those dropped around $131, but it's back up now. So when I was looking for more of a high-end CPU, actually Intel's Core Ultra 270K Plus is down to $265, which at its full list price isn't super amazing deal, but when it's marked down to this point, if you actually look at the gaming performance here, it is pretty interesting. So for example, Tech Power Up in relative performance for gaming has us coming in about matching like AMD's 9700X. It's about the same as like the older generation 14900K or a Ultra 9 285K. It's interesting. It's near that higher end. It's not as fast as a 7800X 3D or a 9800X 3D. Those will beat it in gaming performance. However, if you do anything that productivity related that does use a bunch of cores, that's where it really starts to show its value as both good at gaming and having a bunch of cores, where you can see it near the top of the pack, matching stuff like the 9950X from AMD in overall application performance in the review, where you can heavily utilize all of those additional cores. So this is an interesting CPU, and while again, it's not as fast as a 7800X 3D or 9800X 3D in gaming, at this price, it's also priced less than those. So it's actually offering reasonable gaming value there as well. Now, if you're more on a more budget side of things for the CPUs, I did also notice the Core Ultra 5 245KF coming in at $139.99. So at $140, this could also be interesting. In that same CPU review, you can see down here, the 245K is reaching about 91% of the performance of the 270K. If I look up a dedicated review of the 245K, now this is an older review, so not all of the newer generation parts were in it when Tech Power Up reviewed this one initially. You can see that it kind of comes in near the performance of parts like a Ryzen 5 7600, or a 5800X3D, 12900K. So we're kind of in that sort of ballpark if you wanted a look at that. Now, if you were going to buy one of these CPUs, you might also need a motherboard to go with it. Now, this isn't the lowest priced compatible motherboard, but as far as going with the higher end Z890 platform, this seemed to be priced a lot lower than other competing Z890 boards. So at $160, because Newegg's having a $20 off right now, you get the ASRock Z890 Pro RS Wi-Fi. So this does have Wi-Fi built in. I think it's a Wi-Fi 6E, I think. Anyway, so this seemed like a fairly well-featured board for the price, although if you're just looking for a compatible motherboard, you can go lower on the prices with the B860? I always forget the numbering system between AMD and NVIDIA with their letters and numbers that are pretty similar to each other but slightly different. Now, if you're putting together a full new build, though, the real caveat is RAM pricing, and I couldn't find anything that blew me away today. Like on Amazon, you can get 32 gigabyte kit of 2x16 DDR5 6000 CL38 memory for $371. Yay! Over at Silicon Power's website, you can get DDR5 6000 CL36 for a slightly lower price because they have a $61 off promo code, which one person can use once. So you're not going to buy a whole bunch of these and resell them or anything, and that really gets it down to $350. Now, they also say that they'll add shipping at checkout, so your mileage could vary on whether plus shipping ends up any better than the $360 price you get here on this. But again, the timings, this is CL38 and this is CL36, so potentially this could be slightly better depending on what that shipping price comes out to. So yeah, that's kind of the problem that we're in the memory situation right now. Now, also, SSD pricing sucks, so if you're trying to put together a full new build, you might need to look into SSD pricing. You can get 1 terabyte drives that are at least, moderately fast to the sense that, you won't see a degradation in gaming performance at all. Obviously, there are faster drives available, but at, 3,000... 2200, that's sequential read-write, but basically for gaming performance and everything I've seen, those kinds of speeds are fast enough to not really see any kind of degradation noticeable in any actual gaming situation. Still, $140 for only 1 terabyte doesn't feel great, but it's, it gets you in the door into a gaming build. And you can actually fit a few games on it. Wish games weren't over 100 gigabytes right now, but anyway, it is what it is. So if you're interested in so what kind of entire full high-end build could you put together with some of these options? This is what I was able to do if I was kind of throwing some of these picks together into a full build. So if I throw in that 270K plus CPU, put on that 360 millimeter AIO with the built-in screen. PC Part Picker wasn't showing the $55 price that I found for it on Amazon, but that price is legit, so I just typed it in here manually to track it. Throw in that ASRock motherboard with the Silicon Power memory at $350. Again, there could be some shipping cost added onto that, though. Throw in the 1 terabyte SSD, throw in that 9070 XT for $650, put it in the Fantex case, and then I didn't really talk power supplies, but just in general, the Montech Century 2 power supplies are highly rated. I've actually bought and used one of these myself. I bought the 1000 watt version, which is also a fairly good deal here. So these come in 850, 1050, and even 1200 watt options, all of which are marked down a bit right now. And these are all highly reviewed on PSU tier lists. They're Cybernetics Platinum, 80 plus gold, fully modular, all of that. So these are good CPU deals. So throw in one of those CPUs, and this comes out to $1,750 for what amounts to a pretty high-end build. I think this would do really well in gaming performance. We're still getting 32 gigabytes of memory, which is one reason why this is so expensive. And there's not a lot of compromises being made here. Sure, we're going with the AMD route instead of spending $1,000 on a 5070 Ti or something like that. But yeah, hey, $1,750. Now, I was also interested in, so are there any pre-built system deals? And how would actually this kind of build compete with the pre-built deals that are on sale right now? So I did find at $1,750, the best deal I could find right now is actually from Walmart. And at Walmart, they're marking down this system that has a 9800 X3D and a 9070 XT GPU at $1,750. They also still have 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, although I checked the details and it's slow memory. It's 5200 or something like that. However, it's using an X3D processor, and the X3D processors are less affected by memory speeds and timings compared to other CPUs like the Intel 270K that I've been talking about. So actually, you wouldn't be hit too badly by that. Now, some of the parts I can't really get a read on, like what kind of power supply are they using. It's probably not as high quality as that Montech Century 2 that I'm listing, things like that. But this also comes with your Windows install. They throw in a cheap keyboard and mouse and that kind of stuff. So I've got to say this is actually looks like a pretty good deal compared to the kind of competitive offering that I could build here. And for strictly gaming use cases, that 9800X 3D, even paired with the slower memory, is probably faster for gaming than this 270K. However, the 270K is going to do perfectly well in gaming workloads. So this was a pretty interesting deal if you're looking for a pre-built system coming from Walmart. And while I was looking for more of a lower budget option, although it's still $900, I understand that's expensive, there was this build with an RTX 5060. I know that's only an 8 gigabyte card. It comes with the Core Ultra 5 225F. So it's not like an amazing deal, but it's hard to put together more budget-oriented builds these days. So I saw this one pop up and it was discounted enough that somebody looking for a pre-built for under $1,000 might at least consider that as an option. Anyway, these are the Prime Day deals I could find for you today. I'll put links for things in the video description. Full disclosure, any of the Amazon links, I do use affiliate links so I can get a small percentage and no additional cost to you. But like I said, I was looking anywhere, whether I have affiliate relationships or not, which I don't currently with Newegg or Costco or Walmart or any of those places. So I'm not just strictly making this video for the affiliate revenue, trying to help out and look for the best possible deals, but full disclosure on that when I post the links down below. And that's what I've got for you guys today. I don't think it was like completely mind-blowing, but there are some things that are at least better prices than they were when it wasn't Prime Day. So there's that, and you can still get a pretty high-end build for well under $2,000. That's still expensive, but hey, there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section, and if I find any other interesting deals, maybe I'll make a second video if there's enough. If there's just a few things here and there, I might post community posts and things like that. So I think that's what I've got for you guys today, and hope you guys found the video useful and or interesting, and have an excellent day.